Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, Dear Hayesy-B in about a half an hour. Where we actually we've had so many submissions, right? There's so many people that want to get into the queue here, basically. They want to get in line, and they want us experts to give them some sort of a response to their conundrum, what's going on in their lives.
We have some juicy ones, too. A little tidbit, a little tease coming up. A guy was on a date and asked his date, this young lady, about her financial status and credit score.
Yeah,
Ooh.
That's a tease. I think I know who actually is involved in this, because last week it was Doogie anonymously. We didn't know that Doogie was a part of it.
This one, you better do the background work, because this is someone in the building, and I'm not getting in trouble.
No. This was discussed. I walked in yesterday. I was doing SportsCenter yesterday with Sarah Davis, and Sarah walked up to me and goes, "We have a Dear Hayesy-B for you guys. Mark is this is Mark we're talking about." And we're like, "Are you cool, man? We're going to bring this to the table." We're not revealing. It's not like we're putting his name and number up on the screen or something.
Well, we're going to chew him one, because he's coming up first.
Okay.
You are up first, Mark.
Yes. What's your credit score?
2.
Not do you drink red or white wine. Can you break down if you're in debt heavily right now?
Are you rich?
Like that.
And I looked
You
up
like that, Noodles? You're a fan of the credit score debates early on?
No, not early. I just think it's funny where it's like, am I getting into, for lack of better words, getting into bed with somebody who's just a degenerate?
Okay, we got to save this, because there's so much. There's a lot of depth
talk
there.
about
This guy's going to get sewered. He got fired today. He's going to get fired.
Well, there's a lot of depth here. I mean, it's this is why we're here. We're here to help people out. We're going to help Mark out. Mark's a busy guy. He's got a lot on the go right now, but it's all good. So we'll get to that in about a half an hour. Dave Poulin will join us here. Bones Highland will join us as well in terms of his audio, trying to pump up the in-season tournament that begins in the NBA tonight, right? There's a bunch of games, and the Raptors wasn't good. They got beat up pretty badly last night in Philly. Yeah, it's Philly's a good team, and there's just no answer for Embiid.
No, he was playing street ball, man.
Yeah.
He did whatever he wanted. He was chucking it behind his back. He made them look silly.
Yeah, and that's what he's done. And that's you have Pirtle here specifically. If you're going to go one-on-one, it's like Pirtle, you got to take that guy on, man. And it's easier said than done. I get it. Embiid's a beast, but Pirtle's a legit center.
And Pat Bev had to do it again after the game. When's that going to stop?
I just was thinking that Patrick Beverley, he went back to Twitter like he's the Arizona Coyotes intern and said, "I told you, no dogs on that team." And
he's going to start doing it when when they lose to other teams.
Yes.
He's just going to be in their grill the whole season.
I agree with you. He's made his mark. It's like he got the reaction he wanted. How do you go viral? You say something crazy and people are going to respond to it. And Pat Bev, he's still playing, and he understands the way this game works. And he's riled up Raptor fans. Raptors are all bent out of shape. But, the Sixers are 2-0. Another thing, when you think of the way they defend Embiid, Nurse was a mastermind. How many times did Embiid say on the record that, man, playing the Raptors was tough? Nick Nurse would cook up defenses. They'd attack them. They'd double them. They'd triple them. And now Nurse is on the other side. And Nurse knows exactly what buttons to push with Siakam and Barnes and Anunoby and Trent.
Big time.
And it's pretty clear that Darko and company, they don't know the answer when it comes to Embiid and the Sixers. So the Raptors went big last night.
Well, it'd be such an advantage
or
for
lose
Nurse
big last night.
It would be such an advantage for Nurse, because he would know what Embiid would do where the Raptors would have no answer for it.
Right.
So he'd be like, Joel, just go out and do that, and no one can stop you.
Right.
And it seems to have gotten across.
It worked.
Sixers they're in a pretty good place. Sixers are in a pretty good place. So, we'll play that audio, though, a little bit later on. The in-season tournament starting tonight. It's a big one. Adam Silver's putting a lot of reputation on the line here. He's trying something different that we do not do in North America. He's trying it. I'll give him credit for that. But if this becomes kind of a joke or
it is.
goof,
it already is, man.
Well, it hasn't even started. So I don't know, but they've invested a lot in the advertisement. There's, different courts, different jerseys. They're really trying to make it feel unique. Yet it's still a part of the 82-game schedule, so it's not, completely deviating from the usual way of operating in the NBA. But we'll see. I'm curious to see what it looks like. I'm curious to see how it's broadcasted starting tonight. And again, we'll get to some audio a little bit later on. Dear Hayesy-B in about 25 minutes. But the Leafs are coming off a loss in a shootout last night. So they got a point. Matthews scores, Marner scores, Samsonov played really well. And it was a good game, like two good teams. Boston's 9-0-1. They're off to a remarkable start. But there's a lot of details within the game that have led to a lot of discussions throughout the hockey world, quite frankly, not just here in Toronto.
Right.
And to continue that conversation, among other things around the NHL, games tonight, and of course the Leafs are playing the Sabres tomorrow. Here's our TSN hockey analyst, Dave Poulin. How you doing, Paulie?
I'm doing good. Oh, I'm sorry. I must be early. I thought I was calling Dear Hayesy-B.
Yeah, no. But do you have a submission, anything going on in your life? Because we can help.
I do. Dear Hayesy-B.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an athlete, a former athlete who played at a fairly high level.
Yeah.
And today I skated with the boys for the first time in 6 years, literally 6 years that I had gear on and skated. And Big Grant was tremendous. And Scotty and Dave were great in net. And should I continue or should I just say you had a successful comeback, just pack it in and smile?
How's
go away.
How's the body feeling? Can you give us any
It
details?
feels pretty good.
Then get back out there, buddy.
You don't do it
get
for
back
yourself,
out there,
Pooley.
Paulie.
You do it for the. Are you doing it up north? Is that where you're playing?
I am. We were
Do it for those
Lake
guys.
today.
Those guys love
The boys
seeing
would
Dave
love
Poulin
that.
out
Dave
there.
Poulin out there. You went to 3 Cup finals. They'd love to
Yes.
have you out there.
It was fun. It was good
Okay.
to be back out there. So that's my Dear Hayesy-B for you.
I like it. Well, we supported. The three of us were on board.
Terrific.
All right, so the Marchand-Liljegren situation. Place yourself on the Leafs bench. What would you expect? What would your reaction be when he came over to the bench and started yapping? And what would you expect the rest of your bench to do in response?
Well, I think this is a rhetorical question.
Yes.
Because you know the teams I played for.
Right.
And you guys, so I've known you, the three of you, pretty well for we're into the 10th year now working together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I sit with you and work with you, and Owen and I have sat together on the panel, and Jamie and I have worked together, and you and I have worked together, Bryan, and we've socialized together, and you wouldn't look at me and say, I'm a particularly tough guy. Like, that's not the first thing that comes to your mind. But when I did my job on the ice, I was captain of the Philadelphia Flyers. And that simply wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, flat out. It just wouldn't have happened. It would have. It wasn't that it wasn't acceptable. It just wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have.
So no conversation needed, anything like that. It's just understood.
Zero conversation. They wouldn't have got to a conversation point. Like, I'm not tough. And yet, the team toughness, I would have been right in there involved immediately. And I wasn't good at it. But our team would have demanded it as a group. I mean, we had incredible individual toughness. We had better team toughness. And the group coming in knew it. They knew it. I had an interesting encounter with Steve Larmer on a golf course a couple of years ago. And I respected Steve Larmer as a player. He was one of my favorite players in the NHL. And he said when he was a rookie in Chicago, they came into the Spectrum. And, it was a rookie, his first time in Philadelphia. He said, and I got up on the bus and no one else was moving. No one else was standing up. And I was looking around going, what's going on, guys? And they were like, yeah, you don't understand. And Chicago wasn't very good at that point. And they wanted no part of coming into the Philadelphia Spectrum. And there's a certain aspect to the team part of it. And I was fortunate. I inherited a large part of that, obviously. But would it have been different? This is maybe an unfair question, but would it have been different if that were Mitch Marner?
That got hit, or if he played the role of Marchand?
That got hit.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Not from the best players, it wouldn't be any different. That's where I stand on it, Paulie. I don't think, like, the core players, I don't think anything could happen on the ice. Like, literally nothing that would lead them to freak out. I don't.
The way Hayes described it is, he said sometimes that you have to be irrational, and he doesn't know anything that could happen on the ice that would ever make anyone irrational.
Yeah, it's almost too composed and too cool and too reserved, and that's not the way it can be. It can't be. And that player for that action has to be held accountable immediately. Like, it has to be the guys on the ice. Like, it can't be the guys, but it has to be the guys right there. And you're not, not everybody is capable or called for it, but there's a certain team toughness to being involved. And everyone's swarming in, and there's safety in numbers. Like, get all 4 guys to jump on, but do something. Have some reaction to it. And, and I was watching it as you were, and I worked the Winnipeg Vegas game late, but I was fully tuned into that game and watching it and saw it when it happened and thought about, I put it in my hands. I thought about what would have happened in a similar reaction. And all three teams I played for. I mean, my Washington team, my last year and a half to 2 years that I played, I mean, I lined up a lot of nights with Dale Hunter on my wing. What do you think Dale Hunter would have done as a line mate right then? Oh, my God. Well, you know what he did. You know what he did to Pierre Turgeon. And that was accidental. He thought the clock was done.
That's quite. It was a mix-up.
Yeah, total misunderstanding.
Everyone's been there.
And that was for scoring a goal.
Yeah.
That wasn't for...
Well,
and so I think, and I know hockey's changed, guys. I get all that. But there has to be more there than we're seeing right now. And by the way, the record is better right now than it was the last 2 years. And, when you think about Toronto right now, I think about them like, well, they do this every year at the start of the year. They lose some games they shouldn't lose, but their talent is so big that it's going to compensate. And they're going to have, they're going to get 110 points or 115 points, but then what's going to happen? And I think a lot about that Florida series last year, and I think about Sam Bennett running Mitch Marner right in front of his bench. And Marner turned it over, and it went inside the blue line. Matthews turned it over, they scored a goal, and the series was over in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, Poulin, just getting back to that hit, because I want your opinion, like, moving forward. We were talking about it last hour. We had Johnny on, too. Like, is there somebody in the dressing room that stands up and says something? Is it Brad Treliving? Is it Sheldon Keefe? Like, if you don't want the perception, like, it's only November 3rd, but we're having a conversation 10 games in about this team being the same DNA. You can change the deck chairs around, but it's the top players that still don't have that pushback or bite. Like, where do they go from here to try and change that narrative? Because I said the whole league talks. So, guys who weren't playing last night or even playing and are at the rink today going, do you see what happened in Boston last night? Yeah, that team, they're easier to play against than we want, than they want or they're trying to portray. So, who changes the narrative? Who starts that conversation in Toronto to go, we got to change that. We've got to change the narrative in the room and throughout the league.
If the team is going to be good, it has to be in the room. It has to be the players. And the players have to take charge of it. That can't be a coach and it can't be a manager, Jamie. It can't. It has to be in the room. It has to be the players. And that's the challenge. I mean, that's the challenge and they've continued. And I think part of it is they haven't been able to build a bottom piece of this team because of cap reasons. They've had to change the pieces every year. There's been no continuity in that bottom group. So maybe there hasn't been enough confidence in the bottom group because they've been there for long enough to have watched it happen, to be able to stand up and have enough of an impact role on the team. It can't be the 14th forward, although they can't carry 14 forwards anymore, but it can't be that player. It's got to be the main guys. It's got to be someone in the main group. And the problem is, after the first 5, essentially, that group has continually changed. And, and when they went out this year and brought in Max Domi and Tyler Bertuzzi and Ryan Reeves, and Reeves we knew was a limited role, but with Bertuzzi and Domi in particular, here's 2 guys that can play. I mean, they can play. They both had shots in the top 6. They both have that ingredient, but it's not ingrained within the team yet. It's not, they don't have that ingredient as a Maple Leaf yet. We know they've had it in different places because we've seen it in different places, and that's why they brought them in. When I watched Max play in Montreal, he had that ingredient. He just did. And we haven't seen it as much this year. We haven't seen it from Tyler Bertuzzi. We knew he had it in Detroit. He was probably in Boston too brief a time. But that ingredient has to be in the locker room for me. It does, Jamie. It can't, for someone to come in and say it from the outside, a coach or a manager, doesn't do it for me.
With Dave Poulin, which Hughes brother has had a better start, in your opinion?
Well, I saw Jack last week. I had him in Montreal and couldn't take my eyes off him on the ice. Like, he was that good. And Quinn maybe better.
Quinn had 5 points last night.
I know he did. And you know what? And the quietest, fun team to watch, and I watched them a few times now, my old buddy Rick Tockett, he's squeezing it out of them because you think, he had some pretty good years in Arizona with, no talent, none. They were pretty structured, and they were a pain to play against, and, and they won some games, and now that's talent. And, he's managed to, I think, annoy JT Miller to a perfect level, that JT Miller wants to go out and crush someone every shift and play well. And Pettersson's a legit star player. Quinn Hughes is emerging as that on defense. They've got an interesting mix. I like that Hronek. I never understood why Detroit, moved that player. That's a player I was always interested in. He's got an edge to him and could be the perfect partner for Quinn Hughes. So they've got some nice pieces. They've got some goaltending, and they're playing really well. I've seen Jack live, and so I'm watching away from the play. I'm watching him move through the neutral zone, and I had a long chat with their radio guys about him, Matt Laughlin and Chico Resch, and they said he's figuring it out. That's what they said. So, well, he's figuring it out pretty well. He's leading the league in scoring. They said, no. They said beyond that, he's figuring it out. Not to put himself in tough places. He's not that big, but he's not exposing himself in physical situations that aren't to his benefit. And man, does he control a lot of time with the puck on his stick.
Pooley, how long can the Edmonton Oilers continue to watch the goaltending? I know their big guys have to get on track, but how long can you keep flip-flopping, putting these guys in the net and not having a solid goaltending performance, and you lose games before you have to say, and I know it's difficult to make a transaction when you have an area that's glaring because everybody's circling like vultures, but how long can you watch that?
Let's see a great big trade, a really big trade for a big-time goaltender. I'd love to see it. They thought they had it fixed. They thought with the emergence of Stuart Skinner last year that Jack Campbell would bounce back to a point. He comes out and has a great camp. Everyone thinks it's going to be rosy. They're going to be back and forth. But this whole goaltender thing, to flip the narrative a little bit, in 21-22, the Boston Bruins created a tandem. They had a fourth-round pick named Jeremy Swayman that nobody had really heard of, who had limited time in the NHL. And they signed a free agent from Buffalo, Linus Ullmark. And they created the best tandem in goaltending right now in today's game. How do you even do that? And other teams struggle, and Edmonton's one of them, and continue to struggle and continue to struggle. Now they thought they answered a lot of it with Jack Campbell. But those of us that had watched him in Toronto, when that signing was made, we thought, well, does he really step up at the key times? That's why Toronto's not going to re-sign him. Why is Edmonton going to re-sign him? So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm waiting for a major hockey trade of some sort where somebody moves a real player of significance and gets a need of significance. We might be waiting a long time. Yeah, an old-fashioned trade where you say, holy smokes, I can't believe they traded that guy. And is it going to see it because somebody's out of fashion early and not doing what they're supposed to be doing? And I don't know, but that's what I'm waiting for. And everyone uses the cap as an excuse. But you can see, Boston's a great example. How did they trade for Hampus Lindholm, fit him in, and re-sign him? They just did it.
Yeah, they found a way. And Taylor Hall's in Chicago because of it. Stuff
exactly
like that.
Right.
They're able to shed.
The
They pay the price. They're able to shed kind of on the outsides or whatever, or have guys push through. and you make it work. I agree. I would love to see a hockey trade. Like, when's the last time we've had, now, November? I don't know. I think maybe end of November you start to look at teams, but when is the last time you've had just out of nowhere a trade that nobody had talked about? No
What about a
rumblings,
trade
no nothing.
noodles with multiple players? Like just two teams that want to shake it up, much like back in the day. It was like Subban for Weber. It was just like a hockey trade. It's like I want to mix it up and have something different. I'd love to see it.
Well, yeah,
Two young players, Seth Jones for Ryan Johansson. Like two good young players when they were traded from Nashville and Columbus, respectively. They were two players on the rise, big-time players. And, I'd like to see more of it. The NFL does it all the time. The NBA does it.
NBA, well, players are the ones that want it. That's the difference.
They dictate it. They do dictate it.
Exactly.
And maybe there's a certain aspect of being safe in hockey that doesn't allow for it. But we'd love to see it. And to your point, that started this about the goaltending, that looks like a very fragile team right now because of, and it starts in net. And, we've all played, and Jamie, I'm including you in the conversation because you've played with and were a good goaltender. And when you're on top of your game and you walk in the locker room and you're on top of your game and your partner's on top of his game, the impact that has in the locker room. And, you played with a goalie that took you to the Stanley Cup finals. And, you know what the feeling is and the difference. And I can't imagine right now in Edmonton that you're walking in supremely confident going, hey, we feel great tonight, guys. Let's go out and play. Because you can't.
No, they've given up 36 goals on the season. And Boston...
Nine games in.
Yeah.
You're 9 games in.
Boston's given up 16, and Boston's played 10.
Crazy.
It's a significant, and that's generally what, is going to happen. Like, eventually Edmonton's going to get to play San Jose, and they'll get 2 free points. But, like, that might be what is going to end up happening that will, like, break the camel's back is, like, if Calgary and or Edmonton lose to San Jose.
I was just thinking the exact thought, Brian. I was like, you said that. What if?
What if? Because San Jose is going to win a few games, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. They have Edmonton at home next Thursday. If Edmonton loses that game, I think all bets are off.
Well, Edmonton's got Nashville tomorrow. Yeah,
no, I
Edmonton's
understand
got
they have
Nashville
games
tomorrow,
before that,
and
but still.
I think San Jose. The thing is, even the worst teams. What did Colorado have? They're going to win 20 games.
40 points or something.
Yeah, they're going to win 20 games this year. Like, that's a thing. Like, that Dallas team, I don't know if people give enough credit for them. Like, watching both nights, that Dallas team play.
Good.
And
they're good.
Like, they're a good team, but they're smart. They're opportunistic. They've got talent. And young talent, not like,
Yeah, last night was the Hintz show, and Pavelski chips in, and
they've quietly done a good job of working their young guys in. Like that Wyatt Johnson, he's a good player. Yeah. He's a really good player. Like they've sneakily worked in their young guys with their Pavelskis and their Jamie Benns and their Tyler Sagans, and they've got the young goaltender. I really like Dallas. I think they're going to be a force. They and Colorado, for me, are going to be back and forth all year. I mean, that's going to be, they're going to be the two teams in the Central that will dominate that division for me. And they're hard to play against too. And they've got the defenseman in Heiskanen, they got the goaltender in Ottinger. They're a very good team. They're very well coached, and they're a very good team.
So before we let you go, I don't know if you've heard about this on the weekend, Poulin, but the hockey cards being given out at Tim Hortons and stuff. My son opens up a package and there's a Dave Poulin card in there.
Nice.
Awesome.
Wow.
He starts laying out these. He's laying out these cards on the table. My 6-year-old, and it's got some some vets with some mustaches. And he goes, "Daddy, who's this?" And I'm like, "That's Dave Poulin." And you guys were on the panel, and I'm like, "There he is, right there." He's like, "That's not him." I'm like, "That's him. That's the card right there."
So cool.
Unbelievable.
Attaboy, Poulin. There you go.
I'm very flattered by that status in the McLennan household. That's big time.
You mean you're not getting paid by Tim Hortons? Come on.
Apparently not, because this is the first I'm hearing about it. So apparently not.
It was impressive, and like I say, he saved the card. He put it on the wall, his wall upstairs. He's got a little wall of hockey players, and
beautiful.
Proudly got put up on the wall. So there you go.
That's awesome. That made my weekend. That's great.
And now you're playing beer league hockey up in like Owen Sound. Who would have thought?
You know what? Shallow Lake. That's the rink. Shallow
Okay.
Lake.
All right.
All good.
Shout out. All right, Poulin, have a great weekend, buddy. Thank you for this.
You as well, gentlemen. Enjoy the hockey.
There's Dave Poulin, our TSN Hockey analyst. Mail It In Friday is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From touchdowns to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beers always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. Yeah, those cards, man. That's we've been starting to get some cards around the house. My girls are into that kind of stuff. It's awesome.
They're very cool, very cool. But it was just kind of funny because, you know, there's guys. All it was is like guys with mustaches. It was like old school. And then there's Poulin right there. It was Boston. Like he was with Boston at the time. So
okay,
it was a good card.
Even the equipment is so like shocking. You know, you see like some guy with a Cooper helmet and a mustache and like
what sticks.
The chin strap is like. It's like darkened from sweat and blood and cigarettes.
Really like thick leather, and it's like
it's just like what happened back then? Those guys were playing in that. You know what? The neck guard stuff. You see TJ Oshie last night.
Yeah, he owns the company, right?
Wow, that's the thing. It's a pretty good promotion probably for him. But Rasmus Dahlin, I think I've seen a number of players throughout the league that are looking into it. And
good.
Yeah, it's their decision. Exactly. Like no league is going to say you can't use protective equipment. Right. So if you want to use a neck guard and wear a neck guard, you know, by all means. Again, it's not going to change the game. No, like it's not going to change the way you view the game if a player has a neck guard on or not.
At the very least, try it. I was talking to Duffy about it the last time I was on the panel. It's like, how do you not watch that and put a neck guard on? It's like, it's ego. You've never worn it. It's uncomfortable. You like the way you look. It's ego. Yeah. And that's why. And it's like, just try one and try to make it work. It's all you can ask.
Yeah. Yeah, there is like a bravado part. That used to be a chirp. Like, are you wearing look at you wearing a neck guard. Like, I remember that in the O. Guys,
just forget about that garbage. Just wear one. Try one.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly. All right. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Dear Hayesy-B coming up. We've had a number of submissions. We're going to advise people. That's why we're here. We're here to help people on a Friday. Dear Hayesy-B, next.
Insight, the ability to see and understand why you do the things you do.
Dear Hayesy-B.
We're going to go down there and have a donkey barbecue, and I'm going to furnish the ass, right?
You don't want to hide a Mars bar in your sleeping bag when there's a bear outside the tent.
You know the deal. 6:30 on Fridays, we help people like Dr. Phil.
Yep.
And I saw this come across my desk. And I said, there's no way in hell someone in the newsroom at SportsCenter is going to be on this show. This is troubling. Mm-hmm. If you have small kids, get them out of the living room before I read this.
Okay.
Dear Hayesy-B, I've hopped on some of the dating apps and have recently connected with a nice girl. We had a date all set to go. Friday night, downtown Toronto. It was a perfect situation. Before the date, I asked her about her financial status and credit score, and she gave me the flush immediately. Is this a good way to approach or a no-go? I need your advice. Mark from the SC newsroom?
Yes, this is our friend Mark, and it's caused a storm.
That is a stir.
Dude, I want a pic of them. Put a pic of them up. We got to see who this is.
No, I think next week, Dear Hayesy-B, we have a full interview with Mark. I think
we might set him down.
I think he has to be sat down, and it could be the first time, like a completely different kind of flashback
insane behavior.
Like a round table. Like we could actually have an intervention. If things go,
Yes, because I'm telling you, I walked in yesterday, Bolta was here, Sarah was here, like everyone was buzzing, and they're like, you got to hear this. Today I walk in there, it's the same thing. Glenn's in there, Sophie Coolius is in there. They're like, can you believe this guy? Like, it hasn't stopped. People are talking about the fact that he wants a full breakdown of finances. He wants to know what bank you're banking at, credit score.
Does he not know that this is the most creepazoid thing you could ever do to someone if you're trying to go on a date?
You can't ask that kind of question early on. It's a complete, it's not an icebreaker. It's a freezer. It's an ice freezer.
Deal breaker.
Yeah,
the deal breaker.
I wanted context for it. Now that I got it, I think I changed my mind because I actually thought early on it was kind of, you're getting ahead of it. If you're going to start a relationship with somebody who's a complete deadbeat or, owes a bunch of money or has been kicked out of their apartment or you name it, that type of stuff. But I didn't realize like that's opening date type of stuff. I thought it was like, after a couple dates or over conversation, like, hey, how's your situation? But that's, I don't know. I don't like it.
It can't be an icebreaker out of the gate. And here's another thing that I thought of is you might be setting yourself up to really jam yourself up. Because what if you ask this woman, or vice versa, a woman asks a man, and the answer is, oh, I'm worth millions. Yeah. And then she thinks, well, what about your situation?
Yeah,
and
what
you're
are
like,
you, money bag? Like, what are you?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. I got decent credit. And then she turns and goes, well, why am I with you?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm actually worth millions, but you live in your parents' basement? Goodbye.
It just opens the door to way too many reverse boomerang questions that I think could put you in a really bad spot.
Mark, next Friday, you better be in studio.
We got to get Mark in here. We will have a conversation. We will let Mark speak on his own behalf, but because, again, I'm telling you, people, this is like, it's buzzing. Like, people cannot get beyond this topic of discussion in the SportsCenter newsroom that Mark...
I was also thinking one Friday we should try to organize, if we could, if you're in there, Hayesy-B, get our wives to answer the Dear Hayesy-Bs.
Really? A reversal?
Could be an interesting twist.
A reversal?
Get some different thoughts and some different...
That might also be opening a door that we don't know if we can close.
Yeah.
That may
Forget I said it. All right, Dear Hayesy-B.
Yes.
I've got two of my best pals in town this weekend. We played college hockey together in the States and don't get to see each other that often. We live in different cities. They have expressed the desire to floor it this weekend, especially on Saturday night at the Islanders game. I live in Manhattan, and the place is filled with fine establishment that encourage taking it deep, Jerry style. I have an engagement photo shoot with my fiancé scheduled for the first thing Sunday morning, and the future missus has requested we behave this weekend so I look presentable for pics. Do I take it deep and deal with the consequences, or be reasonable and get a good night's sleep to ensure I don't sleep on the couch for a couple of weeks?
Wow.
I'm going to start.
Go ahead.
You got to man up and absolutely pin it to the ground with your buddies and go nuts. But you're going to show your wife that you can respond. And this is going to go a long way because she's going to know what. Get home at 4 a.m, but you pop up at 7. You have a coffee and a shower, and you look gorgeous for the pics, and she's going to say, this guy's the real deal Holyfield. And he can rebound, and when it matters to me, he gets the job done. Start things off on the right foot. Yeah. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listen, I think you got to have a big night because pictures are going to come and go. Engagement pics, I understand, are big, but they get forgotten once you have the wedding. Right? We've all been through this. The engagement pics are big. It's a part of the process. Then you get to the wedding. I don't know where our engagement pics are.
No idea. I agree.
Yeah.
No idea. Where the hell are they?
They will be completely taken over by the actual wedding pics. And
they're worthless.
Yeah. And I just went through somewhat of a similar situation, but I actually dragged my wife into it because we were having family pics a couple of weeks. It was freezing. And I'll never live this down. I wore a jacket and I wasn't supposed to wear it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We were at our friend Tori and Mike's the night before, and our friend Stacy and Steve were there. The kids were there. And we were getting into it. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, we got the pics, but we're having a great time. You know what I mean? Like, the pics are going to be there. We're never going to forget the pics.
The great time
but let's
is
have
more
a great
valuable.
time. Let's have a great time. I say, Florida, you're in New York with the boys. Get up the next day. You'll be fine. You'll be totally fine.
That's
right?
why we're the best.
That's exactly right. And if you sound like this,
63 years is a long time to wait.
It doesn't matter.
Texas Rangers.
It's all good.
World Series champions.
it's all good.
It doesn't matter because that doesn't come through in a pick.
No, that's right. You just got to smile. Just stand there like a
here's
mannequin.
the other thing. Here's the other thing. I'm going to end it on this.
Okay.
With the power of photos and how you can edit them nowadays, it doesn't matter if you got bags
That's right.
under your eyes are glossy. You can edit it out.
That's right. That's
This is
a
a
very
new
good
one.
point.
This is a new one and a different vibe right off the hop. Dear Hayesy-B / Doogie P.
Whoa.
The wife wants to decorate for Christmas November 1st. I want December 1.
Mm-hmm.
She does, however, light the tree after Remembrance Day. What do I do? Compromise or let her do what she wants? What are your thoughts of when decorations can go up and come down? Doogie, please chime in here. Not sure
Yes.
if you are single or not. Need advice from a young gun.
Well-
Sincerely, a husband in need of advice.
Okay, I like it. I like that he's reaching out to Doogie. Like Doogie,
Yeah.
Doogie,
Don't kid
you're-
yourself. This is probably Doogie again.
That's a good point. This is Doogie's mastermind to get more airtime. All right, Doogie. Obviously, you don't have a girl right now because she left you hanging last week, right? You're supposed to bring her to the Raptor game, and she, didn't
Dusted
show up.
you.
Did you ever have conversations about the Raptor game with her?
No, not at all.
It's
Completely
disappointing.
Casper the Ghost.
That's really disappointing. You didn't ask about her credit score, did you, Doogie?
That wasn't part of the conversation, no.
Okay, that's good.
Did she know you're a TV star now?
Not sure.
Well, she
Not sure.
should. I mean, if she doesn't, that you got to figure it. You got to find a way for one of your friends, a mutual friend, to send her a note saying, "Have you been seeing this guy Doogie absolutely crush it on OverDrive?"
Accidentally send her a link
Yes.
to one of you being on
sorry,
air.
meant to send that to someone else. Meant to send that to whoever it is.
To
Connor
Stacy.
McDavid. No, just one of my contacts. I was texting Austin Matthews. That's
Yeah.
your play.
Yes.
All right, Doogie, your take on when Christmas stuff should be going up.
Well, it depends here. It depends on how invested you are into the holiday and how big
Wrong
this is.
answer,
Right,
Doogie.
you
Wrong
can't confirm
answer.
or deny,
It's not
Fergie.
depends here. When should you put up the decorations?
Come on, Fergie.
It has
P.
to start December.
Thank you.
December.
That's all we want.
It's way too early.
That's your
here,
an-
boys.
that's
Way too
the
early.
answer.
He tried to go Fergie.
Fergie P.
Can either confirm or deny that.
Fergie
You know
P.
why? Because he's 21 years old. He's never put up Christmas. Like, he has no
probably
idea what the
part of
hell
it.
you're talking about. He's like, Christmas decorations? What are you talking about?
Yes.
I can either confirm or deny that.
Yeah.
His Christmas decoration is going to an ugly sweater party at Christmas time, or like the
Right.
Christmas sweater party. There's no decorations on young guys' apartments and
No.
stuff like that. Like
It's not a
condos.
concern. It's not a concern.
Exactly.
But the answer is December 1st. Like, you got to be reasonable. You got to find a way to push it back a little bit at a minimum, right? Like, November 1st, I find, is just like, what are you, living at a Walmart or Costco? Like, obviously, they are starting to really hammer it out because they just move from one thing to the next. Halloween ends November 1st, Christmas stuff, already up. You got to get out in front of it. But no, you can't have that around the house that early.
I
You put
got a
the
ton-
lights out, just don't turn them on yet. That's smart because
Right.
if you get good weather, right? Get the lights up when it's nice out.
I got a ton of respect for putting it up the 20th and out the door on the 26th. Gone.
There's a lot of that out there, man. And
I love a
vet
Costco
move.
move too. The 26th, return the tree.
Yeah,
That
the
is
tree's a
my
tough one,
That's
man.
so
favorite.
greasy. That's
It
so
is
greasy.
beautiful. There's a line. It's traffic. Guys with trees going into Costco.
I know. The tree on Boxing Day, though, is just so obnoxious.
So greasy.
It's so greasy.
Here's one for you, Hayesy-B, as a new lefty star golfer. My wife and I are expecting our first child. The doctor said we can expect a birth date around early to mid-April. Her and I are very excited. However, yesterday I had my close family friend reach out to me and my brothers. Through a corporate connection, my friend is offering us tickets on the house to the 2024 Masters Tournament at Augusta National. As a serious golfer, let me just put it this way. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How do I navigate this?
Man, that is a conundrum. The priority is being there for when your kids are born. You do not want to miss that. You do not want to look past that. But if I heard mid to late April, the Masters is early April, right? The Masters is usually like April 7th to 9th. Now, tickets can vary because they give out tickets every day. Are we talking Monday, Tuesday tickets, midweek? Are we talking a weekend? But I think you find a way to make sure that you have a bird prepared, right? Like you need to know exactly how you can get out of Dodge.
You go to your dad and say, I'm going to the Masters. I don't know what your financial status is, but you might go, you have a parent, an uncle, and you say, I need 50 G's ready to get me home from the Masters because I'm going.
Right.
And if this kid comes, I need 50 G's and I need that plane at Augusta to get me home.
Yeah, you need a private jet.
Because if I miss something,
quick.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
So that's the only way you can do it. If you tell your dad or uncle or any money source you need 50 G's for the plane, and it's probably not going to happen. You're hoping it's not going to happen.
You'll probably be fine. But
yes.
Or at a minimum, even if the PJ is not available to you, you need to know, okay, how quickly can I get to that airport and get out, even if it's a connector through Chicago, New York,
right. No,
Boston.
You need the Augusta National Private or the Augusta
PJ,
Private Airport.
Yeah, those are big, man. No, that's a place that's how you operate. I mean, if you can, but it's tough because like on the house, the Masters, it's the ultimate bucket list for every big golf fan. I mean, it's the number one thing. But you cannot miss. You got to be around for the berth. Like you got to be around and be prepared. You don't want to miss that. I mean, that's going to be bigger. You're never going to live that down. So you got to get and try to find out. Obviously everyone's got a due date, but what's the read? Maybe you pull someone aside. Say, what are we thinking here? What are we looking at here? Do you think we're talking due date? Maybe post? Yeah, that's a tough one to navigate. But if you can if you can get to the Masters and get home in time, it's just a beautiful situation, and I think you try to make it happen.
Another one, golf oriented.
Okay.
It's my annual tangle between love and golf. Boys' trip to Arizona is booked for early December. Girlfriend's parents decided to schedule a visit on the same weekend. Her parents live in BC, and I've never met them in person. Is there any way to weasel my into the is there any hope to weasel my way into the desert?
Well, I think if it's already booked, then yes, it's booked. That's not you can't make a call on when people are flying in and not flying in. I mean, you have a pretty obvious explanation here. It's been booked. I can't get a refund.
Yeah, but Hayes, what if she's saying you've never met my parents and we're moving in a certain direction and I think it's important for you?
Well, then, listen, I understand that. Like if you're basically being given an ultimatum here, you can either go tee it in Arizona when you come home, I won't be here, then you've got a real decision to make. But if that's not what's on the table, you do have an out that it's already booked. That's what I'm saying. Like if you haven't booked it, then you're not going. You're not going to go on that golf trip.
Why don't you
right?
do
The priority is
you've got to grow a pair, okay, and call her dad and say, "Look, listen."
Go ahead.
Call her dad and say, "Is there any chance you could fly in a couple days early because I've had a trip booked. It's very important to me." And I don't want to miss out on meeting you and your wife.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're actually you kind of hit the nail on that.
And you know what? Furthermore, I would like to pay for the change in airfare if you change your tickets.
That's a baller move right there. If there's any issue,
so grow a pair and call her parents and say, let's just make a subtle change here.
Yeah.
Because I really want to meet you, but I have a get together with buddies that I never miss.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that.
I love that.
That's actually really wise. Very wise. How about you? You and Doogie really bringing the heat today. Dear Hayesy-B.
Doogie brought nothing to this.
Doogie did not supply much.
No,
it wasn't much of a supply. Although this could be Doogie we're talking about for all we know. I mean, the guy slides in an anonymous Doogie story every
And I'll
single
tell you
week.
another thing. If I get in trouble for the Sports Center guy,
Yeah.
I'm putting it all on you.
How was it my problem? I was over there. I'm just saying.
I just don't want an email from somebody up top saying you can't bring the Sports Center people in on Dear Hayesy-B.
We brought Doogie in. It's not a sewer. We're not saying a full name. We're not giving we're not giving his Instagram account or his home address.
Yeah,
just, it's a natural conversation. A lot of people seem to suggest it should be something we get to.
If he wants to grow a pair, he better be in that.
We'll get him in.
Beside you
if Mark
Friday.
wants to come in, it's a standing invite. It's an open invite. Open invite. Open door policy.
Love it.
All right? There you go. All right. Mail-in Friday continues. We'll get to our best bets. Look ahead to a busy weekend. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. It's our man Mark's theme song. We love it. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm on the Chiefs. I love the Chiefs this weekend. Timo and Wilson, they took the Dolphins. They're laying it up to me. I love it. I'm on the Chiefs -1.5, Eagles -3, Bengals -1.5. We're playing the big games this weekend. That's what we like. That's what we're on. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Same-game parlays this NFL season now include passing touchdowns and receptions on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 18+, and physically located in Ontario. Be a great weekend in the NFL. Leafs Sabres tomorrow night, Saturday night in Toronto. Raptors in action. We got golf tournaments going on. CFL playoffs. It's going to be great. It's going to be outstanding.
Good stuff.
Yeah, we'll see what the Leafs have in store tomorrow night. You know, they got a point out of Boston. Buffalo's a good up-and-coming team, right?
Yeah.
Buffalo's won a couple games in a row. Won't be easy tomorrow night. But we'll see. Full off day today as well. Let's see what is said before the game tomorrow and then the actions on the ice tomorrow night. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes. We appreciate it. All the help all week. Everyone for tuning in, TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at...
Mark, I want to meet you on Monday, 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.